Camera number 148 of 365 is this Nikon F301. It's an aperture priority camera but can be used in full manual mode. However, it does require batteries to power all its operations. The batteries are housed in the base, so let's just open that up. So the camera takes 4 AAA batteries that are housed in this cradle. Mine's a little bit temperamental in that the batteries, if I'm not careful, will fall out, so I have to place the battery cradle down and put the camera into it. There's 2 helpful white dots that allow us to correctly orientate the cradle. So let's just put that back on. The only other thing on the base is this tripod mount, which is off-center, presumably because of the battery compartment. There we go. So on the front of the camera is a button that allows us to release our lens, and then we have a remote which is an electronically controlled remote, and then on the other side we have our self-timer which counts down. We can have it give us audio beeps, but they can be turned off as well, as I've done here. There's a special button on the top. The lever also enables us to lock exposure. So in all 3 modes, which is program, program high and aperture priority, we can lock in the exposure. I suppose in those situations where perhaps our subject is off center, so we take a reading, we lock it and then recompose and take the photograph. Okay, so let's put the lens back on. Turning our attention to the top plate, on the left we have exposure compensation dial, which is locked or unlocked with this button. It also has the film speeds, which if we lift the collar we can rotate and then choose our film speed. The little red light actuates when we actuate the shutter, and it also tells us when the film is finished. Film rewind crank also allows us to put our film in, and we can see provision of DX coding, and also provision for a data back that allows us to imprint on our negatives. Okay. On the right hand side we have our shutter dial. Shutter speeds go from B through to 2000 in manual mode, and then we can go on to aperture priority mode, where we set the aperture the camera responds by setting the correct shutter speed, or we can go into program mode or program high, which favours high shutter speeds. Our on-off switch or lock switch is on this top button, which also houses the shutter actuation, and then we can go to single mode. That's the film being advanced on for the first time, and then otherwise we press the button, or we can press it continuously. Our film counter, and then also this little switch allows us to have audio tones or not. To rewind the film we press the R button and unlock it by sliding the slider, and then once we've taken our film out, and then it resets. On the back of the camera we have a very useful little window that shows us that our film is being advanced, as well as a little window that shows us what film we're using at that particular time. Looking through the viewfinder, unfortunately mine doesn't work, but if it did, the shutter speeds are down the right hand side and they're illuminated by LEDs, so there is information there, but that's the only information we get. I found the screen quite bright to look through, which is perhaps traditional for these kinds of cameras, particularly the Nikon F301 something or 40 series. So that is camera number 148 of 365.